Tidying up, part three. So this is the last of the tidying up series, and after this, then once all this kind of stuff is done, we'll look at doing some enemies and maybe adding some jeopardy, like a timer or something like that on the game, and like a game overseeing that type of stuff. But anyway, one of the things we've got to fix is when we collect these eggs and we go into a scene, go into a shop and come out of the shop, they respawn and this goes back to 20. So we got to fix that. So what we're going to do first and foremost, we're going to go into our item collector script. And this works perfectly fine. So when I come in contact with something called eggs, it destroys it, it takes away one from my egg counter, and it updates the score and a little sound plays. Now, a couple of things I need to do on here. We need to make this eggs accessible in other scripts. So our game state manager from the previous video we're going to use. So that's why I've added static here. And the only other thing I need to add into the item collector is this chunk of code here. So I'm just going to copy that across and pop it. I think it's there. It goes like that. Yeah, and that's all it needs to be. And basically, this is basically identifying the things we're collecting them, and then saying to the game state manager, can you make sure that they stay collected and they stay destroyed then, if that makes sense. So I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to come back onto here to let that kick in. So it doesn't like collect. Oh, that's right, because I haven't done something else yet. So you will get the same error message as I've got in our game state manager. So what am I clicking on here? Right. So in our game state manager, which I've now moved into here, I'm going to make these guys all accessible as well. And I don't think we need to do anything more on the game state manager. I think that's all we've got to do for that bit. I might be wrong in saying that. But we also, on Unity, and again, we'll have that message, each of these collectible items, we need to add a script to them. So I'm going to click on the first one there because so I don't forget which one I'm doing. And I'm going to be adding this script to it down by here. So it literally is these bits and pieces here. So if I highlight those bits and I make a new script and it's going to be called collectible item. So on my egg, I'm just going to add a component and call it collectible item and get that to generate. So it's going to be in our assets area. So I'll move it a little bit later. And I'm just going to highlight all these bits here because I've copied these and I'm going to paste that in like so. And I'm going to get rid of those top two lines because I don't actually need those. Now, the idea is each of these eggs, we're going to give them all a unique ID. And this collectible item thing we were talking about a second ago, as in like the error message we had, they're basically going to be identifying each of these guys by why can't I speak, by the ID we give them. So our egg, where we've gone, you can see that error message has disappeared now. The item ID underneath collectible item, I'm going to call this egg one, and each of these need to have. So I'm going to go on the side actually. We're going to add that component. So if I just click on collectible item, it's already there. Look, so I can double click on it there. This is going to be egg two. They need to be different. They can't have like two egg ones and two egg twos, that type of stuff. So collectible item, that's going to be egg three. And even though it's got the numbers on the end there, it doesn't actually matter what they're called over here in terms of what we're writing here as well. And my last egg, which is my fourth egg, it's going to be egg four. Now, I don't think I need to do anything extra at this stage to get that bit to work, but there is another issue which we'll come across now in a moment, but we'll discuss that in a second. So, they're all saved. I haven't got any error messages, so let's press play. And what should happen is when I collect these, so I'm just going to collect those two there, and my counter is 18. When I go into the shop and come back out to the shop, oh, that didn't work today. Why didn't that work? Oh yeah, there is something else I got to change. So as well as doing the item collector script, as well as making this collectible item script and adjusting the game state manager script, there is one other thing we need to edit. So where is it to? On our main camera, we have the camera controller. And if I open that up, I've just got to add a couple of lines to it. So back, I keep doing that. I keep clicking on the wrong thing. So back on here, where we have got the camera controller script, we're going to add these bits in yellow in. So I'm going to add that bit there, and that's going to go here. So we've actually got a start for this one then, and it's going to basically call in something called find player. And what we're saying is that's got to go. We're basically saying when we come onto the scene, make sure the camera starts following that player. And I've also got to add in that bit there. And lastly, at the end of all this, I've just got to get this bit in here. Now, it's easy for me to say this because you guys have to type it out. And there is one thing I just need to point out as well. So after that bracket, I'm going to paste that in as well and press Control S. Now, back on Unity, we let it kick in, let it do what it's got to do. The one thing I need to make sure you have done, I'm not sure if I've mentioned this at some stage, and we'll talk about this. Oh, that's the error message I had previously. So, Link, or my player, can you make sure it is tagged as player? So if you just scroll down and click on player, if it isn't tagged, then this bit won't work. So let's press play. I'm hoping that red error message disappears at the bottom, which it did. Let's collect a couple of these guys. So they've disappeared. We're down to 18. Let's go into the blue shop. It doesn't matter which shop I go into at this stage, but now it actually follows me. And you can see, but those have still stayed disappeared, and we've got 18 there. Fantastic. And it should also do the same when I go into the red shop, because it doesn't matter what shop I go into, it does the same thing. So that's a nice touch. Now, the only problem I've got is when I go into these shops, there is no count in terms of what I've got, so what I've collected, that is, and also I want to add some eggs into these as well. So for the red shop, let's go into the red shop scene. I'm actually gonna go and why can't I find the red? Oh, there we are. We're in scenes. So I'm gonna go into the red shop scene. I'll be doing the same as well on the blue shop. I am gonna add in an egg. Where's my eggs? See, this is the bad thing about organizing stuff. I'm gonna drop an egg there. I'm going to make sure that it's got the collectible item onto it, and this will be egg number 5. Okay, and I'm also going to add in some canvas bits then. So basically, I'm going to be doing the same thing I did previously with getting the text on there. And in fact, I'm going to pause this because otherwise you're just going to watch me do something I've done in the past. So give me a second. There we go. I've got my eggs remaining text in there. I've got eggs count, and I did the usual thing of overflows, font style, color, and I added a shadow on them as well. One thing I do want to point out what I've done, I've actually gone back onto the sample scene to see what the position of these are in terms of X and Y and what font size I use, so it's just consistent in terms of going back and forth. Now you might be thinking, great, all I've got to do now then, because I've added a player movement script onto here, is just simply add the item collector script onto it as well. But the item collector script won't work. We actually need to make a new item collector script for inside the shops then. So what we're actually going to do, we're going to use the code from item collector, and I'll grab that back up in a moment. But I'm going to need to add a shop item collector. I'm pretty sure I can do one generic one from for each shop, not an individual one for each of the shops, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't have the script for red shop item collector and blue shop item collector. But the idea will be when it loads up the script, and again, it's going to be in assets, and I'll tidy that up later. I'll drag it down. So there's shop item collector. And I'm going to get rid of all of these bits and pieces. I'm going to get rid of those bits and pieces at the top. And I'm going to copy and paste everything which is in here. Okay, so this is my item collector script, what you've already written out. So I'm going to copy that. I always need to double check what I've actually copied. But anyway, so shop item collector, that's going to go into there. Now we're not going to need the public static int eggs, so that's going to go away because we're bringing that over from the item collector. That's the way we're static in there. But wherever I have got eggs on its own, I need to type in the name of the item collector script. Okay, so literally I'm just going to copy and use that. So I'm going to scan my way through, and I think it's going to happen a couple more times. So down here, I will also need to put it in, and there as well. And I'm pretty sure it's just at the line there. So a couple of things I need to stitch up because everything else stays exactly the same as far as I'm concerned. And this was the stuff we copied across from item collector. So let's save that. Come back onto Unity. It's giving us an error message. It doesn't like, oh, yeah, it's my fault. So I also need to add that line in at the top because we're using text, which is user interface. So we'll just drop that in like so and save it. And hopefully it's a bit happier with that this time. And with the item collector being cleared, the shop item collector. I just need to connect things up. So my eggs count. It's the same as which we had on the previous one. This is where, oh, on the previous one, on the sample scene. So that's going to come across to there. And my rupee, oh, I haven't actually got a sound set up for that one. So I might kind of like have an error message for that. So might need to set up. In fact, I'll do that now. And again, I'm going to pause the video because you know how to add sound, don't you? So I've got my sound added on the side. So go back and look at the sound video if you can't remember how to do it. And let's get back to our clinker moment. And I just need to drag across the sound onto there. So in theory, what should happen is if I save this and I go back onto my sample scene, what I'm hoping will happen is when I collect something here, we know it makes a noise, it disappears, that goes up to 9 or down to 19. The red shop I did that in was nice. If I go into the red shop, yep, it brings across the 19. I'm hoping when I collect my egg, oh, bum, that's what I didn't do. I didn't actually add on the egg. I've added the script onto it. Oh, I didn't add the script onto it, did I? So I need to add the script onto it. So collectible item. And I need to make this. I'm on the wrong thing now. Oh, Jesus. Right, excuse me a minute. So I'm going to go back on to Red Shop. I'm not going to save anything on there because I think I just did something wrong. I click on my egg on here. So I've got egg 5 selected, but I haven't actually got a collider on it, have I? So I need to add a polygon collider. And I also need to make sure that it says is trigger. So that should work now. So let's go. I keep saying that, don't I? So let's go back to the sample scene. Let's save that. I press play. I'll go and collect a couple of these eggs this time just to make sure that it does what it's supposed to do. So the 18 Kaiser Crossfire, I'm just wondering what this is down here. And when I come in contact with that, it's not working. Why isn't that working? Of course it didn't work because I didn't tag it. Right, so I got to add eggs as a tag. I must be my age showing now. And when I press play back on the sample scene, and it should work this time, I am gonna collect 3 of these this time so we can see it works in that respect. So it goes down to 17. I come into the shop. It still says 17 there. And this time it goes down to 16. And what should be good now is when I go back to the sample scene, the count should also be 16. Yay! And it still keeps those ones disappeared. So all I've got to do now is do exactly the same for the blue shop as I just did with the red shop. Right. Next video, we're going to do something a bit more interesting. We're going to have an enemy or something. We might have a timer actually, just to count down to see if we die if we don't get things collected in time. And then following on from that, we'll have an enemy which is patrolling rounds and maybe chase after us when we get too close to it. But anyway, stay tuned.